Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for October 12th, 2016. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session, what we were looking for, remember the 58 has was very important. I said failure to hold above that area implied a likely push back toward support between 2135 and 2140, and you can clearly see price aggressively hit those targets very early in the day and then continued downward, reaching a low of 2121.75. That's a significant little pullback here that we saw in the previous session. And now what you're seeing here in overnight trading, we've got a push higher here into the previous session's midpoint, and right away that was offered, and we're seeing a push to new lows. So this could continue to push a little bit lower into that 2120 key level. We have a confluence of key levels in that area, including an MCVPOC, and any push. Remember I mentioned we have this is the key range. We've been trading near the center for some time. At some point we're going to test one of the edges. So right now this could be the point here where it's attempting to push down and test the edge. That's 2100 down here. At some point you may look to see for any late sellers to become trapped, and that could be grounds for a return back to 2144 and perhaps into 2190. So right now this could be early weakness here. Any failure to hold above 2135, the next FOMC level will be significant. So right now that area is being offered and we're currently below it. We could be looking at new lows into 2120 followed by a continuation of 2100. So if we take a look here at the intraday time frame, here it is. In the intraday time frame, you can see so far the previous session was a significant sell-off all the way down, hit our targets. There's 2135, 2140s right here. So it hit those targets early in the day. This bounce right here failed, and that was the highest bounce we got all day. Price never tested VWAP, and we continued lower into 2121s. And then late in the day almost got back to VWAP. So right now, after such a significant trending move here, this range, this high, 2140, has become resistance so far. And now we could be looking at a trading range that develops here on these lows. So the fact that price is going offered off the previous session close implies we could be looking at more weakness here back toward lows. And if bulls are able to trap down here at the previous session's low, we could see a return back to 2140 and continue to develop. Otherwise, look for further weakness below 2120 into these lower downside targets. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Here's crude oil. If we bring it up in a daily time frame here, let's move it over. What you see in crude oil right now is price holding at these highs. And I know we have a lot of key levels here, especially yesterday's intraday key range. But what we have here is this price pushing beyond 50 half. That was an important level. But coming just shy of this 51.67 level. That's the top of the key range over here. And so price came right in it, and it's stuck between those levels now. So you have this expansion day right here where price held the midpoint of that the next session. And that session right here was a digestion day. So that's very important. Any failure to hold that low would be significant, and you'd be easily running price back into 49. So that'd be a 1.5 of movement easily into that area if these lows cannot be held. So right now the expectation is that bulls and bears are trading in a range up here. A breakout above this range would likely test 52s, and any trap above 51.67, if prices are not able to gain acceptance above 51.67, could be a big selling opportunity back toward 46.69. So right now we're kind of at that point of emphasis where we're either going to continue higher or we're going to drop back toward value, and 50 half and 51.67 are the key levels to watch. So keep an eye on this one, especially in an intraday time frame. Right now we're looking at trading range behavior for the most part, but this is not an easy range to trade. Right now the range is kind of sloping downwards a little bit, so expect prices perhaps to come into this area, perhaps as low as 50, maybe come back up to 51. That could be an approach today, but for the most part, prices are likely to stay somewhere generally in this portion of the range. So when you're here, it's not as easy to trade, but once price gets to a new low or outside into an LVN, it could be a great fading opportunity. Or if price gets out into this zone, it could be, again, a great fading opportunity. All right, let's take a look at gold futures. The previous session I mentioned that gold was forming a potential absorption signature on these lows, something to watch at 52s. 52s held for the most part most of the day, but it just doesn't look or appear that absorption is really winning out right now. We see price holding in that 52 area right now, and it's kind of holding, but for the most part what I see is a rejection at the pivot range low and a down lower value environment. And I also see the previous close being rejected as well right now. So it was held Monday, it offered on Tuesday, and right now Wednesday early it's being rejected. This all implies new lows, or at least a test below the previous week's low. So right now 1260 is the early pivot to watch. Above 1260 can retest 1268. Given the current downtrending market, I think any retest of 1268 likely to be defended on first test. So we could get a short squeeze into that level, followed by an opportunity for bears to defend. But right now, I think overall this thing is poised to test these lows and retest 1245. If there's a failure to maintain acceptance, then there's a quick drop downward. And remember, we have that 1208.30 down here that we could be looking at. So that could be the next major target down. So right now, I would caution any bulls trying to buy these lows here because it appears that bears have everything covered. So above 1260 could be a short-term opportunity for bulls to jump in on that one. Okay, let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ had a significant sell-off as well. I mentioned before that we had a clear trading range from 48.04 up to 48.88. Yesterday pre-market I mentioned 48.80 as being the key level to watch. Failure to hold that level I mentioned opened up an opportunity to return to 48.40 and a shot to see the lower part of the range. And I guess you never really see a one day doing it all in one day, but it did it. I mean, it hit both of those targets in one day, held down here off the FOMC level from September 21st, that's 48.04. The MCV right here is 48.06 half. And so that's been a level that's been defended, or a zone that's been defended time and time again. But given this recent rejection up here of these new highs, the expectation is we could see even more weakness ahead if price cannot maintain acceptance above 4,800. So if there's a failure to hold 4,800 here, we could be looking at more weakness back across this prior price distribution here, with major targets at 47.58. 47.30, 46.90, and 46.25, so all the way down those key levels. So this could be very important. Again, any pullback has been a buying opportunity here, so I don't think that this thing is just going to fall off the map. Anything can happen, but I think any pullback would be a great opportunity to bring it right back up and perhaps continue to trade within this larger range here. So I think right now, short term, we could be looking at more weakness if 4,800 is not held. That's a very important level. If that fails to hold, then again, we could be looking at more weakness in the near term, but that weakness could be a great buying opportunity later on down the road. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. Here's the intraday right here. So far, let me pull it out a little bit here. What you saw was the previous session prices failed to hold above that 48.80. That's the one we talked about pre-market. So if price fails to hold 48.80, look for a drop back toward 48.40. That's going to be a high probability opportunity. Below that area has this target zone down here, MCV in the Fed. We actually got that as well. But now that we've reached these lower targets, you can see up here, 48.40 has become resistance, and you have this support at 4,800. That's probably the range to watch here today. So if price comes into this area, we could see it come back up. If price comes into this area, we could see it come right back down. Today is Wednesday, so Wednesday I believe we have the Fed minutes later on this afternoon, so that'll be something to watch out for. But keep in mind, this could be the range here short term. Any acceptance above 48.40 starts to work this thing back up toward 4,900. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.